An otherworldly, story-driven shooter with aggressive gunfights and terrifying monsters awaits you. This is the story of a girl who, by the will of fate, faced the beast. And in order to become free, she was forced to study its nature. How far can you go in the fight for your freedom? Let's find out.
Polly, they know you're here.
Hi everybody, welcome in. My name is Warwick and welcome to Warwick Reviews, where today we're going to be checking out a game called Silly Polly Beast. And I'm doing say a big shout out to Andre Chernyshov and the team at Top Hat Studios for the review code. I really appreciate that. This is a game that I'm really interested in checking out, and funny happy to say is out very soon. In fact, when you're watching this, it should be out now, so make sure you check it out on Steam, PlayStation and Xbox. What we're going to do today is basically talk about what the game is all about, if you should be interested in it or not, and my thoughts and feelings of the game, and anything else of interest. But before we do that, hi, hope you're doing well. I really appreciate you watching. If you're back from a previous video, thank you very much for checking my channel. I really appreciate that. And if it's your first time here, well, first of all, where have you been? I'm glad to have you here. But yes, again, my name is Warwick Reviews, and I do a lot of reviews on this channel. So not just on indie games, but also on TTRPGs, on AAA games, also on tech products, on all sorts. So you find a lot here. Also, I do stream on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Warwick. And you will find me on various socials where you may be. But like I said, this is Silly Polly Beast. So let's get stuck in. This video is sponsored by GAMERSUPPS. You can use my code Warwick to get 10% off not just the energy supplements, but also apparel, on V-cards, on all sorts. There's a huge selection available that will meet your gaming needs. So make sure you use the code Warwick today. And now back to the video. So I will say straight off the bat, I do like this setting. There's no music, just sort of this ambience, birds in the background. And then you log in and you're out looking through a mobile phone. So reflected is Polly holding it, which is quite cute. And that's your sort of movement as the eyes moving. So it's sort of very built in sort of a UI straight away. So we've also got various settings. So we've got different achievements just there. Discord, you've got credits, which is quite nice. But we'll start game. So we've got difficulty settings. So we've got easy, normal, hard. So easy is looking at its adorable ears. You're filled with a sense of comfort and peace. You bring it closer to your ear, and its tiny mouth seems to whisper, "Hey, everything's going to be all right." Normal, it has seen many dusty pockets and backpacks. The paint is worn in places, and scratches are visible everywhere. Your journey together has not been and will not be easy. And hard is pitiful and repulsive. It looks more like a small, ugly voodoo doll than a toy. The path of the owner for such a trinket has always been strewn with nettles, and only the devil knows when this path will end in disgrace. So normal is standard, easy and hard, and I like sort of the bio, but we'll stick with normal as that seems to be the default, and we'll get stuck in. So with Silly Polly Beast, you start with Polly, basically, sort of a bit of a backstory that it seems like you are trying to look for your sister, Alice, and you're trying to sort of navigate your place in this world. Seems like it's a derelict sort of post-apocalyptic type world where you're trying to keep to yourself. For some reason, you're on the run. You've done something that we're not aware of at the moment. And sort of as the game progresses, sort of learning about the mechanics, but sort of how the game works. And then you're sort of thrown into sort of the main bit of the game where you sort of drop into this hole, into this like this other hell world, basically. And that's basic, I'm not saying that's it in the sense that that's all that's there to it, but you are learning with Polly. So she doesn't know where she is or why she's there. We don't know why she's there, but what we do know is we need to survive and use the resources available to us. So we've got different sort of things, so we can sort of blast enemies with handguns. You also got other weapons like shotguns and SMGs later on in the game. And you also got your trusty skateboard, So if you have a bit of a hole where you've run out of bullets for whatever reason, you do have your skateboard to get through stuff. As you're going through as well, you gain forbidden knowledge. So you channel powers from cursed items, each unlocking new ways to maim and destroy anyone that stands in your path. You also explore this gothic world, very surreal, where you sort of explore fog-choked ruins, nightmare playgrounds, and beautiful horrors lurking between dream and decay. And as you're going through that, you're trying to piece together basically Polly's past and decide what redemption really means in a world built on guilt. And with all that, you have breathtaking horror. So violence, madness, and style collide in a feverish world at equal parts grotesque and gorgeous. In the menu setting, so you've got equipment, items, messages, and settings. So equipment is basically what you've got on you. So at the moment, we just have a chocolate bar. So not only tasty and nutritious, but also filled with nuts. So this is where we heal if need be. But as you can see in the top left, we are fully healed. Items, this is what the items that we got. So we've got some money. We have our phone, which we're using at the moment. We have a little shabby bear, which was part of the sort of the game difficulty that we looked at earlier. And we have Colourless Hood. So an uninteresting but instructive story about an inglorious hero who hid so well that no one ever caught him. So this is things that you pick up throughout the world where you can use to sort of get through certain events. So we've got this Colourless Hood. So we'll escape and hold down the D button. And this is where we can hide. So you can tell sort of the UI changes. So we're now going to see. And we successfully got through. If I tip my hood off and go back, we have been found. Thankfully, seems to be quite generous with the reset. I guess it's just tutorial. So we'll put a hood back on. Yeah, I can see. They're sort of looking, but not really that interested. If we get closer, I think they would be alerted. But for now, we seem to be okay. Right, so another item that we picked up is called Skate. A shabby old skateboard. It's missing a couple of bolts, but it looks solid, even though you don't know how to ride it. But when placed in the hands, it can easily become a melee weapon. So this is where we pick up our first weapon. So RB, the main controller, is to hit with your skateboard or hold RB to throw your skateboard. And thankfully it comes back, which is nice. Also, you can zoom in as well if you want to. So you can hold down the button just there. Sort of see that. So this is a good moment to talk about controls. So I'm using a controller. You can also use keyboard as well. So keyboard WASD and mouse. But I'm using controller. So it's the joystick, left joystick, moving around and stuff. It depends on what sort of angle we're playing at. So you notice with certain the footage that we got, some of it is literally just like a 2D platforming style where you can just left or right. Where here we can traverse more of a sort of 3D world. So you got here, you can also press down on joystick to go run fast if you want to. And it's like a click and then stop. You can walk. And then you got D-pad. So D-pad will have health or other items. For this case, and we've got the hoodie. So you can put the hoodie up. And then we can put it back down. X is I can fill up my health if I want to with X. So hold down X. And then I've got weapons. So I've got right bumper, which is a attack. Or if I hold down right bumper, it's a longer attack. I can also use the right joystick as a directional. So if I want to target different enemies, I can have it target different places if I want to. And you sort of stay in that sort of like tank position just there. Nothing too major, but gets the job done. So now I have the Devolver, a little hand devil. There's something very unkind about the cold sheen of steel. Hold him tight. Bullets. So we've got Steel Messenger, which is, I guess, the name for the bullet. So bullets for the Devolver. Each one bears a bare invisible imprint of a face, twisted by eternal, insatiable thirst for blood, replenished upon killing enemies or at soul barrels. So with the combat, there seems to be quite a few different options that you can take. So as we saw earlier, we had a skateboard, which you got here. So this is controlled with the R bumper. So press R bumper, swing, and then hold it to do like sort of range attack. As you can see on the top left, there's a stamina bar. So you keep spamming it before you know it. You can't do anything else until the stamina comes back. So you have to recharge that and then keep going. As we've gone through the game, we've picked up other elements. So we have a gun. So the gun is we're done with the right joystick. So that is now controlled right joystick. So we can move it around. And if there's a target, it will sort of show that little sort of aim, like a square. And you can use your buttons like that. And then you got these barrels next to us that we can replenish, just like that. Our button's just there. We also have a larvae, so this is done with the left bumper, so you hold that and then you can sort of direct that. So there's a larvae that you can throw and you sort of spin around and use it as a grenade. But as you saw as well, there's options where you don't have to fight unless you are in sort of like arena like we were just now, where you sort of have to defeat enemies and you can obviously dodge with the left trigger. Thankfully, this doesn't use any stamina, which is very handy. So you can actually dodge away from attacks and make sure you survive. But again, there are certain points where you can sort of hide from enemies, certain enemies to get around or just run. So there are options out there. So if you are running a bit low and you don't fancy fighting all those enemies, you can sort of try to get through a different way. But as you saw as well with this level here, I went through the right side first and died very quickly and realized on the left side there was actually some goodies. So sometimes it's good to sort of fail because you sort of learn sort of patterns of the enemies and what to do and learn, oh, okay, maybe there's a different way I can go, which is quite good. So that's our first proper death in this game. So there are going to be points in the game where you have to make choices. And as you can tell, we made the wrong choice. So we know maybe let's not do that. So with any game, I always check the settings. So we'll check out the settings right now. So we'll go in and we got here. So we've got different languages. So we've got English and we've got various other languages available just all here, which is pretty cool. So you can choose them there. Audio, you got music and SFX, both at 100%. So you can adjust them if need be. Graphics. So we've got a decent selection of graphics. So you've got resolution, VSync, full screen mode, anti-aliasing, shadow map size, and reflection quality. So you can change them if need be, just like that. Accessibility, which is also a nice feature. So you've got auto change weapons. So this is where you can change your weapons automatically. Heavy hit slow-mo. So when heavy hit enemies, they'll give you slow-mo. You can turn it off if you want to. Text speed, hand camera shake, and enemy highlighting. So you got all of them there if you want to change them as well. So shake is always one that I like to change. So it's 100%. So we'll stick with the basic, but there's options just there. Keyboard. So this you play by keyboard controls and you can actually bind them if you want. So every control here or every button input can be adjusted. And with control outside of the movement controls, you can actually also bind them as well, which is a nice touch. There's a lot of games, especially on Steam, they have options to change the keyboard, but they don't always have the option to bind for the controller. So it's nice to see that you can change inputs on your controller to how you want. Anyway, we'll leave it all up by default. So nice settings, nothing too major. I always like to see more, especially with sort of, I like seeing options when you have accessibility changes. So I want to know what that means. So especially if I've not played the game yet, I want to see, okay, what does that mean? So I always like having when they show examples. A lot of times you just learn in the game. But for me, I always like seeing an option with certain things. So like if it's text or like sizes and stuff, like I want to see how big actually means. But overall, nothing too bad. So that's the settings. And that basically explains Silly Polly Beast without giving too much away. Like, I only played a little bit of it. I don't want to show off the whole game. I don't want to spoil anything because I feel like this is a game that I want people to explore. And for the time that I had with it, I absolutely loved it. It feels new, but also familiar in a sense. You know, I sort of grew up with like the classics like Resident Evils and Silent Hills. So it had that familiarity with those sort of games, but also something new with the sort of style of it and everything about it. And I just had a really, really fun time. Like there's a lot of different styles being sort of merged into one. There's incredible use of, sort of camera angles and usage with that, as you saw with the games. Like at one point it feels like sort of a roguelike sort of arena type thing where you're moving around trying to sort of use your weapons, and other times it's sort of like a 2D scroller, and at each moment you don't know what's going to happen, and it feels like there's a world that's really involved. They feel like there's a bit of purpose with the world, where other games might just sort of throw things together, where this feels like as much as I don't know what's going on or what we're looking at half the time, I'm intrigued, and it feels like it's a world that does exist. Like it works, if that makes any sense. I don't know if it makes sense or not. Let me know in the comments. But I had a really, really good time. This is a game that I've been looking forward to for a while, just by sort of it's doing something a bit different, and the style element, everything around it, just it works really well. It seems to include a lot of different things from different types of games, but also makes sense. There's a story here. There's obviously a lot of heart and love that's gone into this game to create something that's unique but also familiar. And I just cannot wait for people to check this out. You know, the graphics, the style of it is throughout gorgeous, but also sort of macabre as well. And yeah, just a really good time. I would say I would like to see maybe some more options for like settings potentially. So there are, as we saw with some accessibility options, I'd like to see more, for example, with the text. There's no speech, which actually plays into the game because Polly is mute in this game, so I think works with not have any voices. But there's no way to sort of fast forward or have auto track with the text, so you do have to keep pressing every time there's a bit of dialogue. So I'd like to see sort of options to help make that sort of more fine-tuned. But outside of that, if that's my gripe of the game, I think they've done a really, really good job. Throughout my time playing it, I played on normal, it still felt like there was points where it felt hard, as with like roguelikes and stuff. This isn't a roguelike, but like using that idea where when you're playing like a hard game and you keep failing, if it doesn't feel like it's hard for the sake of hard, it feels like it's actually just trying to teach you. You're trying to learn about these enemies, and there does feel like there is a element to dying in this game where you learn stuff. And again, we also saw there's different choices that you can make, good and bad, that may potentially impact the further story. So it'd be really interesting to see what's going on. But yeah, just a really, really good time with this game. Silly Polly Beast is something that I really want people to check out, and I hope they do. Again, it is on Steam. I played the Steam version, but also it's going to be on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S and X. So make sure you check it out when it comes out, which I believe will be out as was this video. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate that. Again, big shout out to the team at Top Hat Studios and Andrei Shenosov. Sorry if I got your name wrong, but thank you very much for the code. I really appreciate that. And thank you for watching. Again, my name is Warwick, and I don't just do reviews, although I do many reviews on here that you'll find of your interest. But I also stream on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Warwick. And also you will find me on various socials where you may be. But thank you so much for watching. Please take care, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.